Hi guys, thanks for checking the video out. Steve Buzza here. So FedEx Cup playoffs. We've had 3 events, 2 winners. Bryson and Keegan have got the wins. Both deserving wins, but what do they have in common? Both having arm lock putters. So today's video is kind of a add-on to what I did a month ago. So a month ago I did a video on how I converted a standard putter into an arm lock putter. Today's video is, did it work? So I'm going to start with the actual conversion process. So before I start talking about do I think arm lock putters work, was it possible to change a standard one into an arm lock? And I would say me and Brian did a pretty good job. So like, just to recap, you have to add loft if you are going to arm lock. So you might be somebody that already has a belly putter or has like one of those counterbalance clubs. Just putting it onto your arm is not going to work unless you add loft. Changing the loft with a loft line machine was easy. Putting the extension in caused a slight problem, more so through feel, and this is going to sound ridiculous and only a golfer would make this comment, was because I've gone longer, like the flex profile of the shaft isn't correct. So although it didn't feel an issue at all when I was putting, you know when you're walking around with your club and you like tap it on the floor, it vibrates quite a bit and that starts to get in your head. So I would say just extending a shaft's not ideal, but it is doable. Since the video that I did, the only alteration I made is I actually put an Optivibe weight a bit further down underneath the handle. You know, just trying to create a bit more balance and actually trying to get rid of some of that vibration. So that was the only difference I've made post the initial video. And so did it work? And I would say it did and it didn't. So I felt really good, and the reason why I thought arm locking would be good for me is my bad putt and my tendency is to pull the club on the inside, and I do it a lot when I'm under pressure. So pulling it in, and then that creates a push. So thinking about arm locking and actually getting it arm locked, I'm thinking that it will actually allow me to track the putter in a better manner in the backswing. And I would say it did achieve that. So if you're somebody that feels like the putter head wobbles around a lot, or you're somebody that struggles with maybe adding loft, so that again, that was the other reason that I went for it, I think it can be very advantageous. And certainly Keegan Bradley, somebody that anchored for such a long period, having that sensation that everything's working together can only be of benefit to him. So it doesn't surprise me one bit that he started to putt far better since he's gone into the arm lock. Bryson, again, I'm not sure if he struggles quite as much as he makes out. You know, he is very much a tinkerer, like he was side saddling, but historically he's been a pretty good putter. So I think for him it just gives him that sensation that everything's working together. So I see no harm arm locking. However, and this applies to me, and the other 2 pros that I've mentioned here, it probably doesn't apply at all. Because I'm left eye dominant, I have to have my ball position quite far forwards. So when I'm arm locking, I was finding that my path was starting to go out to the right. So if you watch the videos in France, so like certainly the ones like Le Golf National, when I had a right to left putt or a straight putt, I felt very confident. I felt very secure about starting it on line, getting it rolling. And I hold some really nice putts. But every time I had a putt from left to right, I looked very suspect. And I think what was happening is because the path was heading to the right, I was finding it hard to start the ball far enough left. What I ended up doing was, logically, I started seeing my miss to be right, so I thought that the face was open, so I started to close it at address, and then once I went onto the Sand Putt Lab, I actually found that I had shut the putter head completely, and then I was having to open it extremely to try and get it online. With that path, I then started to struggle. So I putted very well initially. It then wasn't working particularly well for left to righters. I tried to make that change, and then the last round I putted with it, I was like a beginner. You know, I totally confused myself. So that was the reason that I've actually dropped it from the bag. I'm pleased I did it. I'm pleased that I now own this one. I think it's a great training aid. You know, I will putt with it if I start to feel like I'm losing a bit of control of the head. What I also like is, if you think of and I think a lot of people can resonate with this, when I grip the golf club, I tend to have quite a strong left hand. Absolutely fine for my driver. It really helps me hitting my driver and my irons, and that's always been a strength of my game. But with putter, you actually, a more neutral grip, a grip that's more into the palms, tends to be beneficial, and I've always found it hard to kind of get there. With this one, because I was able, and I'll show you here, because you're able to get it down through the forearm, I found it was really good at weakening that top hand. So since I've gone back to my standard putter, and I've gone back to an old faithful, so Tiger wasn't the only one this week. This old faithful doesn't have 13 majors behind it, but Tiger wasn't the only one to go back to his old faithful. Get some comments down below if you know the culprit, if you know who I'm talking about. So I've made a slight difference to the grip, but I'm finding that I can actually hold it in a more neutral position. It actually feels really good. So I'm pleased I did it. It wouldn't surprise me if I could make a few alterations and maybe sort that path out. I could go back to it, but at this moment in time, because of that path issue and because I was looking very vulnerable from left to right putts, I've gone back to the standard. So I hope this video has helped. Get some comments down below. Are you somebody that's thinking about arm locking? And like I said, I can't stress this enough. If you're somebody that struggles with their putting and feels like they really can't control their head, I think it's something you should definitely try. Or are you somebody that's tried it but they didn't change the loft? So there was somebody that either owned a belly putter or one of these counterbalance putters, and you've just put it up against your arm, especially after seeing what the winners have done the last few weeks, and found that it didn't work. Because what's going to happen, you're going to hit the ball into the floor because of the loft. So get those comments down below. Hope to catch you soon.